Hi, folks. This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. This video, this podcast, will be quite a bit different from the other podcasts I have made in Series 2, Season 2, also from the podcasts I made in Season 1. But maybe that's a wrong way of putting it, because in a sense, every podcast has been somewhat different. There have been some parallels, but for the most part, each podcast has its own, let me say, unique, sometimes weird characteristics to it. This one is not weird. This one is pretty straightforward and good, I think. I think it's good. I will let you decide for yourself, but I think you will agree that it is good as well. It is always good to praise other people. Well, if they deserve it. It's not good to praise people who don't deserve it, especially if they're evil, but that is irrelevant to this podcast. This person is far from evil. This person is a wonderful human being. Her name is RedPagan Nikole. I know her last name, but I will not use it here. Way I found out her last name is simply because she uses it on Facebook, but she doesn't commonly use her last name in her broadcasts or podcasts, which are, well, the link to her podcasts is actually below this video, so you can actually connect to her podcast that way. But because she doesn't use her last name, even though I know it, I will not use it in this podcast. I don't know if she would mind, and I haven't asked her, so whatever, I won't use it. RedPagan Nikole, comrade Nikole, whatever, is a magnificent human being. It is because of her that I returned to Maoism, third worldism. Now, would I have returned to it without her? Maybe. I say maybe because the reason why I moved down here, again, as I have said probably too many times, 2 miles north of the Mexican border, is because of my love for the third world. And I was becoming increasingly disenchanted with third campism, or third camp socialism, or third camp Trotskyism, which I identified with for 10 years, which for me, as an old man, is not a long period of time, since I've been a communist since 1968, when I was a part of the New Left. After that, I became a Marxist, Leninist, Titoist, or just a Titoist. Then I joined other tendencies after that, but eventually I found my way back to Maoism, third worldism, and it was because of the character of RedPagan Nikole. Nikole is a very caring woman. She is one of the most caring people I have met online. She genuinely cares about people. Some people pretend to care about people, but it's really an act. They're doing it to look impressive. That's my impression, anyway. That is not true with Nikole. Nikole is not trying to look impressive. I don't think. I guess if I'm wrong, Nikole, you can correct me on that. But I don't think Nikole is trying to look impressive. I don't think Nikole really cares about that. Nikole is interested in helping others, especially in helping people who have been victimized by abuse. She has a whole series within her podcasts which deals with people who have been abused. And she is willing to work with them. She has encouraged them to seek out help first, and then if they need to come to people like herself, and that she would be happy to interview them, which she does. She's done that with several people so far. To me, that is a magnificent service, because she is a trans woman. I have known other people, trans women, trans men, etc., as a college professor, and I have always been an ally or a friend of people who are trans women, trans men. In fact, I really don't pay much attention to it. When I'm talking with a person who is a trans woman or a trans man, I don't think, oh, here I am talking to somebody who is trans. That's not what I think. I just think about that I'm talking to this person. And I think that is the best way to deal with anybody. You focus on the person, not on the category they belong to. And you accept the person for who she or he is, regardless. And unless that person is a monster, obviously monsters are not included, but unless somebody is a monster, you respect that person. You respect that person's life. You respect that person's being. You respect that person's choices. And you do not try to impose your own self on another person. I can think of few things as evil as trying to impose one's own self on others. I guess there are things that are more evil than that. But at this moment, just right now, it is hard for me to think of too many things. Maybe what they are doing what the Israelis are doing in Gaza is worse. I don't know. But to disrespect a person for who that person is, I just can't think of anything that is more disgusting or despicable. I mean, people who are trans, just like people who are bisexual or gay or lesbian or asexual, did not choose that. That is who they are. That is a part of their nature. We all have, in my view, as I've said before in this podcast, two natures. We have the lower nature, which Roy Bhaskar called demi-reality or illusion or disunity. And we have the higher nature, which Roy Bhaskar called unity. Now, that does not mean that the higher nature is necessarily better than the lower nature. And many times it may be hard to make a clear distinction between the two. We live in a world of illusion, in a sense. We live in a world of materiality. We live in a world of disunity. That is the fact. That's the world that we live in. There is nothing that I, as a person, as a communist, as a Maoist third worldist, as a critical realist, can do to change that. I can engage in conscientization to elevate the consciences and consciousnesses of people, but I can't forcibly change anyone, nor would I want to. That would be entirely inappropriate. Now, I am cisgender. If you are not familiar with that term, cisgender means that my biological nature, my sex as a male, and my gender, masculine, correspond. In other words, I know that I am a man. I don't think that I am a man who really is a woman. But if I did think that, I would hope that other people would respect me. I wouldn't necessarily expect it from everyone, but I would hope that people would. And I think that everyone has the right, even the duty, to expect that. Why? Because to do anything else is basically saying, I expect you to be evil. And I don't think that we should expect other people to be evil. So Nikole is a trans woman, meaning she was born biologically male, but she identifies herself as a woman. And that's it. That makes her a woman, because that's how she sees herself. I have no right, and neither do you, to think of her as anything else but a woman. I have also known some trans women, mostly former students of mine, meaning they were born biologically female, but they think of themselves as being male, or they identify themselves as being male. They are male. They are men. And same thing holds true with them. I have no right to expect them to be anything else except what they are. To have any other kinds of thoughts, to me, is inhuman. It would literally deprive me of my humanness or of my humanity. And sadly, there are a lot of people in the world who don't have humanness, who don't have humanity. They're biologically Homo sapien sapien, but that's where it ends. They don't have the sufficient level of respect, awareness, whatever you want to call it, to understand that other people have the right to say who they are. And that I, especially as a cisgender male, with all the privileges that gives me, especially as a cisgender male who is perceived to be white and who has white privilege, even though I do not define myself as white, as an Ashkenazi Jew, I define myself as brown, but I would never insist on that because to me that's not important. I don't care. So I would never make any kind of fuss over it because to me, whether I'm brown or white, those are arbitrary social constructions. Race is not a reality. Sex is a reality. Whether you are a man or a woman is not a social construction. Now, there may be socially constructed aspects to it in terms of gender expectations, but being a man or being a woman is not the same thing as being black, brown, or white. It's not in the same category. It's not in the same ballpark. They should not be confused with each other. So, RedPagan Nikole is a woman or a trans woman. I generally just think of her as a woman, but I also think of her as a trans woman. Why? Because she is very much interested in the rights of people who are trans women and trans men. She defends those rights. So in that sense, it's appropriate to call her a trans woman. But again, I think of her as a woman. That's it, period. I think of her as a woman, and a very wonderful woman who really cherishes the lives of other people and has a very strong moral compass. Most people that I meet don't have strong moral compasses. They do whatever is convenient at the time. They don't act on the basis of integrity or a set of moral values. And again, as a moral realist, not a moral relativist, I believe that morality is a part of nature. It's not constructed. And so when I say that Nikole is a woman, I'm saying that's a reality. That is who she is. And again, I have no right to see her otherwise. When Roy Bhaskar, the founder of critical realism, which is the basic theoretical framework or methodological framework that I have used as a sociologist, Roy Bhaskar was a moral realist as a critical realist. I've talked about that before. There's no need to rehash it. Beyond a couple of simple reminders. What he meant is that morality is actually built into the fabric of the universe. And the universe includes us. We are parts of the universe. So that morality is a part of us. What does that mean ultimately? It means that emancipation especially, but not entirely, emancipation from capitalism, emancipation from oppression. And the major or primary source of oppression in the time that we are living is capitalism. But also transphobia is a kind of oppression too. And rejecting transphobia is the same as saying, I am a moral realist. Because transphobia is a part of demi-reality, illusion, disunity. It is not a part of co-presence or unity. So again, the purpose of this video is for me to give an elaborate reason, maybe too elaborate, I don't know, but an elaborate reason for why I respect RedPagan Nikole. She is a wonderful human being, a wonderful woman, and somebody who genuinely cares about others. And to me, that's what matters. And she is one of my closest online friends. I would say one of my 2 or 3 closest online friends. I wish I knew more Maoist third worldists. There are more around, but the only ones I really know are RedPagan Nikole and Jason Unruh. I'm not sure why I don't know more. Maybe one other one. I'm not sure, but basically it's Jason Unruh and RedPagan Nikole. I hope I have the opportunity in the future to meet more, but I don't think that has happened yet, or I'm not really sure. Maybe I have met more and I just didn't know I met them. You know, whatever. I can't really tell. But I'll leave that for those other people to say, not for me. I can say that I know that Jason Unruh and RedPagan Nikole are, like me, Maoist third worldists. And I respect both of them. They are both magnificent human beings. But again, this video is primarily about Nikole. And Nikole deserves all the respect in the world. And I hope that in addition to subscribing to my podcast, that you will subscribe to hers and to Jason Unruh's as well. When I ask people to subscribe, I'm not asking for monetary reasons. I don't need the money. I am a multimillionaire. I am not entirely happy about that, but I feel as though, as the possessor of that money, whatever it is, or maybe a better word would be custodian of the money, that I have a responsibility to use it in a good way to help others. And I'm trying to do that as best I can with various causes, various individuals, etc. And I have enormous respect for Nikole. If you go to Nikole's channel, you can also find a link to her Patreon page. Please consider supporting her work. Please consider also supporting Jason Unruh's work. Again, links to both of their YouTube channels are below this video screen. Not hard to find. There is also a link to Abraham Weisfeld's web YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that YouTube channel as well. But again, I would really strongly encourage you, if you have any element of transphobia, bigotry to trans men toward trans men or trans women, that you work very hard to root it out of your life, out of your heart and your mind. No one is born a bigot. Bigotry is learned usually from one's own parents. And as it can be learned, it can also be unlearned. Now, admittedly, the older one gets, and I know this as a sociologist, the more difficult it is to root out bigotry. So it's easier when you're younger. It's even better if you grow up in a home environment where your parents are not bigots. But it's not impossible. It's never impossible to root out bigotry, or at least make some steps in that direction. One does not need to be perfect to be better. Morality and immorality are not absolute conditions in the sense that nobody is 100% moral. Nobody is 100% immoral. So even little steps count. Getting rid of transphobia, getting rid of heterosexism, commonly called homophobia, it's better than nothing. And I think by simply watching RedPagan Nikole's YouTube channel, that if you have any elements of transphobia in your heart or your mind, that amount of transphobia will very rapidly diminish. For the time being, this has been Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.